Welcome everybody to the Throw It Down Big Fella podcast. On today's episode, we're going to have two parts to it. We're going to have a part one where I did an interview with Marcus Hunter, and also a part two where me and Darren were in studio discussing all the major key stories and elements of the week. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode.
Throw it down, big man.
Welcome everybody to the Throw It Down Big Fella podcast. I have former colleague and friend of the show, friend of mine, and will be a friend for the show, WRG former anchor and reporter, and also now you can see what's your YouTube channel, Marcus?
Hunter Eyes Media at Hunter Eyes Media.
There you go. Y'all check out my boy's YouTube page. He has some good content, Mississippi State content. I'm sure he's gonna have some tonight about UT's win at Mississippi State.
You mean UT's loss at Mississippi State?
Sorry, UT's loss to Mississippi State. But ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Marcus Hunter. Marcus, welcome to the show.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Glad that you invited me to be on the show. Happy to be here.
Good. So, of course, we know the playoffs start. Wild card weekend starts. Your 49ers have a bye week, a well-deserved bye week. What are your thoughts about the games coming up? What's the one game you feel like is going to be like that one marquee game of the weekend?
I think that's going to be the Kansas City-Miami game. I think that a lot of people just think that because that game is in Kansas City and the way that Miami has kind of faltered towards the end of the season, that Miami's going to go in there and Kansas City is going to just run all over them. But this is a revenge game for Tyreek Hill, and people don't really think about the fact that Tyreek, he's used to playing in cold weather because he played there in Miami. So I think that people aren't giving the Miami Dolphins enough credit going into that matchup. But another game that I'm very interested in, probably the game that's on everybody's mind, Detroit, LA. The Rams, they actually had a chance to avoid playing the Lions had they just lost that game to the 49ers. I mean, it was a game that nobody really cared about. Neither team played their starters, or all of their starters. But when the Rams went for two at the end of the game, they really wanted to win the game. They wanted to get that matchup with Detroit. So that's going to be an interesting game to see, if you ask me, just because I think that Detroit is the better team. However, the Rams, they have that experience, have been there, done that. And the Lions, this is new to them except for their quarterback. But this is new to them. So I think that's going to be the most interesting matchup of the weekend, for me at least.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also want to throw in the Cleveland and Houston game. I just hear a lot of people saying Cleveland got it. Cleveland is Joe Flacco. I'm looking at their schedule and their wins. I'm not impressed with what Cleveland's wins. I'm really not. Like, they have a really good defense with Myles Garrett, probably going to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year. He should win Defensive Player of the Year. But their wins, their quality wins, they don't have like that marquee win. Like when they played Houston a couple weeks ago, CJ Stroud didn't play. He was hurt. And they won, and Amari Cooper had one of the best games of his career. Had 265 yards receiving. He went in. I don't think, Amari Cooper's going to do that again. If he does, it's going to be less than 265. Joe Flacco is 38 years old. CJ Stroud, I think this is his time to show everybody, show the world what he is about, what kind of caliber quarterback he is. And I really think Houston, a lot of people are counting Houston out because of the way they played all year, because they barely beat Indy the week before to get to clinch a playoff spot. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Houston. They really, really are. And I think they're going to show the world, show everybody. Cleveland, we can make this a shootout. And their secondary, like Cleveland's secondary, I don't know. I don't know what their secondary is. It's kind of like the Detroit Lions secondary. Like, we know their pass rush to Detroit with Aiden Hutchinson and others, like, they can get to the quarterback. Their secondary, last week, Nick Mullins almost beat them. The Vikings backup quarterback almost beat the Detroit Lions team. Now you got Matthew Stafford coming in there. Homecoming for him, going back to Detroit. it looks bad for Detroit. It really, really does. But they had a good year. I just don't trust their defense. So I really think the Rams can go in there and knock out the Detroit Lions. But I probably won't bet that. I probably won't. I don't know. I probably won't bet that. I would bet like an over, like there's going to be a defensive struggle for both teams. But I don't know, man. I don't know. What about my Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Philadelphia has limped their way into the playoffs. They started off 10-1, have lost 5 of the last 6. What has happened to the Philadelphia Eagles?
What's that? Well, I'm going to get to the Eagles in a second, but I did want to kind of go back to what you said about Cleveland, because Cleveland, they do have 2 wins over the 2 teams that are favored to go to the Super Bowl. So you have to give them credit for a win over the Ravens and a win over the 49ers. Even though it was a different quarterback, you do have to give them credit for those wins because, you know, those 2 teams are teams that people expect to be in the Super Bowl down in Las Vegas. But your Philadelphia Eagles, oh, man. You know, I really don't know what to say about the Eagles other than they are a bad football team right now. We watched that Eagles 49ers game together, and it was like during that game, you saw the Eagles team go from being a team that came out thinking they could win that game, thinking that they were going to show the world that they deserve to be in that Super Bowl last year. And sure, had the game been close, then whatever. But the fact that the game was a blowout, what I think it did, it took the Eagles from being a team that other teams looked at, especially in the NFC, as a juggernaut, and kind of had some intimidation going into the game with them. And it knocked them down that no one was scared to go in there and face them. The team just kept going in there and punched them in the mouth and punched them in the mouth. And by the end of the season, I mean, that game against the Cardinals, you know, they were just dejected. And then when they came out there and played against the Giants, I mean, that first half of that football game, man, I'm watching that game. And the only thing I can think of is when I was watching that game was this is a team that has given up and does not even deserve to be in the playoffs right now. This is not a playoff team, not a playoff caliber team. But unfortunately, because of how well they did early in the season, they're still going to get in. I think the Eagles are going to be one and done. I think Baker's going to cook them this weekend, and I think the Eagles are going to be out after 1 round.
Do you trust Baker, though? That you trust Baker Mayfield? I mean, it's
not that I trust Baker. I don't trust Philly. I don't trust their line. I don't trust their linebackers. I don't trust their secondary. I don't trust their coaches. The way that this team looks right now, I don't trust the Giants. Come on, man. The Giants.
I understand that, but if I could just shoot them some bail right quick, I don't think they really just wanted to play. I really don't. I felt like, honestly, they should have just rested their stars. I mean, the Cowboys are going to beat the Commanders. I mean, they were going to beat. I know they were up 10-7 Commanders, but did you really think Washington was going to win that game? No. Nobody thought the Washington was going to beat. So they had to have the Commanders win, and then we win and win our division. After the Cardinals game, I'm like, there's just no way. We lost the division. We got the 5 seed. Listen, but the fact that they played and the fact that A.J. Brown got hurt, the fact that Jalen Hurts dislocated his finger, and Devontae Smith was already out, it's like I don't understand why Nick Sirianni had them playing in the first place. Like, just sit them down. Just sit them down. Like, if they would have set them down, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with them just sitting down and just getting ready for the playoffs and all that. Now we come in, we're hurt. Jalen Hurts' finger, A.J. Brown's knee, Devontae Smith's hamstring, Darius Slay. I don't even know if he's going to play. But my biggest concern is the defense. What happened to our defense? Like, we can't stop a nosebleed. We can't, our defense is horrible. And the one person I'm worried about is Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Like, I'm worried about those two. They could go off on our corners and safeties. Like, they're going to go off unless we find a way to stop them. But we got to get pressure. We got to get set. We don't have any type of sacks at all like we did last year. We had 70 sacks last year. We knocked out your quarterback in the NFC Championship game, Brock Purdy. That's not existing no more this year. It's 30 sacks this year. So We got to get back to pressuring the quarterback and getting some sacks, and then hopefully it can like clear up our secondary because our secondary is horrible. It's complete trash, but I think we could beat. I think we beat Tampa Bay. I mean, with all that being said, the fan of me is saying we could beat Tampa Bay. So if I have this correct, if the Rams beat Detroit and we beat Tampa Bay, your guys' next opponent is the LA Rams in the divisional round. So do you feel confident that you guys can beat the Rams at the Bay?
Listen, we're not going to skip over everything you just said about the Eagles right there. I just
No,
you want to skip over. You want to skip
me.
over how you just made the point for why Baker's going to cook the Eagles, why they're going to lose this game, and then said, "Well, the fan in me is hoping they're going to win."
The fan in me, yeah.
They're not. Their pass rush is not going to get fixed in 1 week. So Baker's going to have all time to sit back there. And their corners are not going to get their stuff together in 1 week. And with the injuries, I just don't see it happening.
Hurt too. Baker is hurt too now. Baker is hurt too.
Baker is hurt too. But we have seen playoff Baker before, and playoff Baker was pretty good.
He's pretty good. That was against the Steelers who, I think the Steelers were half dead anyway that game. I get it, he won, but I get all that. And it was, but the way the Tampa Bay has looked all year, they can't be worse than us.
They're mediocre. They're a mediocre team.
That's what I'm saying. Like we can win a 10-3 game. I don't see if we could just slow Mike Evans down. Not really worried about God. Slow Mike Evans down. We can win 10-3. I just don't see how they can score. They put up 9 points on Carolina like last week. I don't see it. I mean, we could beat Tampa Bay. And if they beat Tampa Bay, fine. I'll go. And if we beat Tampa Bay, we play Dallas in divisional round. And all the pressure, all the spotlight, all the light is on Jerry's world. In Jerry's world. Like, we know them. They know us. Like,
well, yeah, that would depend on the matchups. Like you were saying, if the Rams were to go to Detroit and win that game, which, I think is a game that is poised for an upset. If there was going to be an upset this week, I think that's going to be the game that's going to be an upset. I would prefer for the game that was going to be the upset would be the Cowboys game. But
no.
Yeah, I mean, Green Bay, because for me as a 49er fan, I think if Green Bay gets past Dallas, there's no way Green Bay can come into San Francisco and get a win over the Niners. But to answer your question, when it comes to the Rams, I don't like the Rams, man. The Rams, they're just one of those teams. They're a divisional opponent. They know you very well. The only saving grace I have as far as the Rams are concerned is how San Francisco, how they were able to neutralize Puka Nacua in the first half of that game last week. Because it's not like the Rams weren't trying to go to Puka. They wanted him to get the record. They were trying to go to him early in the game to go ahead and get him the record for catches and for yards. But the 49ers, they were able to scheme the defense up in the way that he was not able to get open and not able to get loose. Now they did score a touchdown early, and then they did go on to win the game, a game that frankly nobody really cared about.
Exactly. But Carson Wentz was in the game. Nobody cared about that.
Yeah, Carson Wentz was in the game. I mean, whoever that crap quarterback we have as a backup was in the game. Can't even think of his name right now.
I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch it.
He's that bad. But anyway, the fact that San Francisco was able to neutralize Puka in that game, the 49ers are a better football team. But the Rams, they have enough offensive weapons between Puka and Cooper Kupp, and they have enough of a rush on that defensive front that if you get behind early in that game when the defense can pin their ears back and start coming at Purdy, getting those hands up, they have to throw the ball a lot. I don't really trust Brock Purdy to play well from coming from behind. So I think the 49ers only way the 49ers, in my opinion, make it to the Super Bowl, they cannot go into the second half of a game in the playoffs behind. They have to have the lead going into the second half. Because if they're trailing going into the second half, I mean, you know how I feel about Brock. Give Brock all the praise. He's had a great season. At one point, he was an MVP candidate, blase. But he still hasn't shown me that he can come from behind, and that's what it could possibly take in the playoffs. So, hopefully the 49ers don't end up having to face the Rams in the second round. I would rather the 49ers face any other team.
You rather play
four on down outside of LA.
You rather play us. And so probably what you're probably hoping for is that we win and Detroit wins, you'll play us in the divisional round. And so that's
I wouldn't mind the first round going chalk, because if the 49ers got the Eagles in San Francisco, that game would be over by halftime.
It'll be over at halftime. I agree. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. I just feel like now let's just say it's 49ers Cowboys at the Bay. Everybody wants it. I think that's like the heavyweight fight that everybody wants. How confident are you guys you could get to the Super Bowl and beat the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm as confident facing the Cowboys as I will be facing the Philadelphia Eagles for the 49ers. I think those two teams are basically the same. I think for the Cowboys, at least, they have looked really good as of late. They have not played teams and looked that great against the really good teams, i.e. Detroit. We all know what happened in that game. We all know who really should have won that game. So, my thoughts about Dallas, they'll beat up on the easy teams, and that's what they've been doing. And them going on the road, sure, they were able to get a win over the Commanders and,
the Giants.
Go ahead and blow them out in the second half. But let's not forget that the game was close in the first half. Dak did throw an interception in the first half. So, you can't get to San Francisco and make those type of mistakes against the 49ers and think you're going to come away with the victory. So, a lot of people right now, they're on the Cowboys' coattails because of how they finished the season and all that stuff. But
this is their last hurrah, basically.
Yeah, for me personally, I still think, their offensive play calling is Manila enough that San Francisco will be able to figure it out and shut their offense down like they did the first time with two teams.
Oh, the first time was nasty. That was like,
that
was nasty. But I want it to be a good game. I think the Cowboys, they got to do it this year. This is it. Like, this is 96 to about. It's so much years of frustration for the Cowboys. They gotta go to San Francisco and y'all beat them 3 times in a row. Like, it's got to come to an end. It's like, what are the NFL script writers? What are they gonna write? It's just,
why does it have to come to an end though? That's what I'm trying to understand. Why does it have to come to? Why would it have to come to an end with the Super Bowl on the line? They can come to an end at any other point. It can come to the end in a wild card next year or something like that, the divisional round. It's just not coming to, not with the Super Bowl on the line in Santa Clara. No, can't have that happen. Cannot allow the Cowboys, because for me, a Cowboys 49ers NFC Championship game, that's nostalgic for me. Going back to my childhood. And there is no. My last memory of a 49er NFC Championship game against the Cowboys, the 49ers beating the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, getting that big lead early in the game. Troy Aikman throwing all those interceptions early in San Francisco, going on to destroy the San Diego Chargers in the Super Bowl. That's my last memory of the 49ers Cowboys NFC Championship game. If they get there again, I want nothing more than another 49er victory. Can't have it, can't take it. Wouldn't be able to deal with Cowboy fans. You know this.
What about the catch? You have the catch part too. You weren't born with the catch, right? Were you born?
I can't remember. I think that was the year I was born. I think it was 83. Maybe the year I was born.
Okay. You could have the catch part 2 or part, something like that. That's nostalgia, like you said. I just remember the last time you guys were in, besides us last year, but all the heartaches you guys have had in NFC Championship game, except for that one year you played Kansas City in the Super Bowl. You need to you guys need to exercise the demons. Get the demons out and get back to the Super Bowl like you did against the Chiefs back then. I think it's possible.
I got a question though. Do you think, and this just popped in my head, if the 49ers were to get to the NFC Championship game and get bounced again, do you think that Kyle Shanahan would be on the hot seat next year?
No. I think there would be some adjustments, but I think Kyle Shanahan's fine. I think he's done enough. He's done enough to keep
you can't be you can't beat Andy Reid, man. You can't beat Andy Reid at the Eagles, and you know what that was like. You know what that was like.
That was a lot of iffy calls.
Andy Reid at Philly.
I get it, but it's like he's not going nowhere. You can't. It would be like I don't know what you would need to improve. I mean, your defense is solid. Your offensive playmakers are good. Offensive line is good. I mean, do you get some more coordinators to switch? I don't know. I don't know what you do if you guys were to get bounced. I don't know. Like, run it back again next year, as far as I'm
you run it back. I'm just saying being on the hot seat next year. You run it back next year, and then,
Then it's a different story. It's like Nick Sirianni. I feel like if the Eagles beat the Tampa Bay, his job is safe. His job is fine. But they get blown out by you guys or Dallas, something's going to change. Like your RFS coordinator that we're from Mississippi State, Brian Johnson. He's from Mississippi State. He's got to go. Like, it's clear as day. His play calling with Jalen Hurts, he's got to go. Like, that's number one. But then other stuff is going to apply to it too. But it'd be interesting to see. Is this the year Lamar Jackson gets to the Super Bowl? Is this the year?
Oh, you're talking to a 49er fan. I think this is the year that he gets to. Well, this is going to be a good year for him to get to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. My honest prediction about what may happen is Cleveland gets past the Texans and go to Baltimore, and Cleveland and Joe Flacco bounce Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
What?
That, to me, so it is written in the NFL script. Joe Flacco taking the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore.
Wow.
Bouncing his former team, his former coach, and leading the Cleveland Browns to the NFC Championship game for the first time since who knows when. Since they played the Oilers.
He's 38 years old, Mark. 38. No.
Nobody cared about Tom Brady being 45 trying to play football or whatever how old Tom Brady was. Aaron Rodgers is going to be 40 next year. Nobody said Aaron Rodgers is old, but Joe Flacco, this man had the whole first half of the season off. His body got a chance to relax. You saw Joe on the sideline taking a nap during the football game. Joe was relaxed and ready to go.
That was against the Jets. You could take 2 naps against the Jets. Come on now.
Just saying. I
can give you the fact they beat you guys on a lucky field goal, but it wasn't even Joe Flacco. Was PJ Walker? Was it PJ Walker that quarterback, y'all?
I mean, even more impressive, they were able to beat the 49ers with PJ Walker at quarterback.
That's what. If anything, Kevin Stefanski, the Cleveland coach, he should win Coach of the Year. You've had 4 different quarterbacks. He should win Coach of the Year, like, clearly. But I can't go as far as say they're gonna go beat Baltimore. No, like. If Lamar and them lose to Cleveland, it is so many more questions in Lamar's. Like, too many questions. Like, he got to get to the AFC Championship game. If they lose, okay, what if they play Kansas City? If they lose to Kansas City, okay. But this Kansas City's team is just, they have no playmakers besides Travis Kelce and Isaiah Pacheco. That's it. Like, their receivers are horrible. But
but they got that man Patrick back there at quarterback. So we got him.
They do, and they're playing in -9-degree weather Saturday. One of the coldest games ever in NFL history, playoff history. I don't see how Miami even comes close to that game. I really don't. Like, it's just too cold. -9 degrees. Like,
yeah, I want no part of that.
No part of that. So it'd be interesting to see what these wild card games going to be. It's very, very interesting. Quickly before you go, the John Morant news that he's out for the season for labrum. What should the Grizzlies do? Should they try to go for the playoffs? Should they, I hate to say the T word, tank, but should they try to get a draft pick? Like, what's the move in the Grizzlies right now?
I think for the Grizzlies, the best thing is to just play the season out. I mean, just go out there and try to win every game, obviously. It's going to be difficult, more difficult without his job, but you got to go out there and you got to play it out. You got to play the season out. You got to try to win every game and let the chips fall where they may, because you're still evaluating guys for next season. You still want your guys to get better, to be out there playing competitive ball, to not be out there and get a losing mentality by tanking. Now, Do I think that this could be a blessing in disguise for the Grizzlies? Absolutely. Because at the beginning of the season, with Ja being out, they were one of the worst teams in the league. Then Ja comes back, and I think they were 6-3 with him as playing for the team, and so they were on the trajectory to be on the cusp of being in the play-in tournament. Maybe you get to the play-in tournament, you don't get in. Now you're in no man's land when it comes to the NBA draft. So maybe the Grizzlies and the NBA script writers will finally give the Memphis Grizzlies the number 1 pick in the NBA draft this upcoming year. And I don't even know who's out there who's the possible number 1 pick, but that'll be for a young player like Ja to be able to be partnered with another young and up-and-coming superstar, up-and-coming star, first, second pick in the draft. And now you put Ja in a position of responsibility because now he may have to mentor someone younger. So now you give him a little responsibility, and they may also help him think about some of the things that he does in his personal time, that having that responsibility of possibly being a mentor for a younger player. Not that Ja needs to or has to or would even want to take on that responsibility, but that's just something that's out there if the Grizzlies weren't to have a good season without Ja being on the team. I think it's a blessing in disguise for the future for this team. Next year with a new star, maybe you get to the playoffs, second round, but then in a couple of years with Ja being a veteran now and the pieces around him, I think that this Grizzlies team could be back in the Western Conference Finals in 2 or 3 years if they do well in the draft, if the chips fall right for them this year.
Do you think he should stay in Memphis? I remember we had this conversation about how the city of Memphis doesn't really have the loyalty for Ja. Like they threw him under the mud, and I remember the press conference, like the questions that Ja Morant had were just absurd. Like some of the questions, not all of them, but some of them. But I really feel like, do you think they should trade Ja? Maybe maybe next year or something like.
Again, depending on what happens in the draft, if they're able to get a high draft pick, I would not trade Ja because I would want to partner him with the star. But there was once upon a time where there was a player by the name of Allen Iverson, and we probably all thought that AI was going to spend the rest of his entire career in the Philadelphia 76ers.
Right.
And then next thing we know, Allen Iverson is playing for the Denver Nuggets. So it's not to say that it couldn't happen. Hopefully for the city of Memphis, it doesn't happen because Memphis needs a superstar like Ja Morant. The only way that the city of Memphis and that the Memphis Grizzlies can get to an NBA final, you would have to draft a player that becomes a superstar like what you have in Ja Morant. So I hope for the city's sake that doesn't happen. But, with everything that's been going on in the media, with, like you said, the questions that were being asked of him and some of the things that that have happened just from being in the city of Memphis with Ja. You never know what can happen in the future. But we all thought, AI leaves Philly and goes to Denver, he's going to be a completely different cat. AI was saying, dude. AI.
Yeah, but I really think, though, the Grizzlies should probably not tank, but just not try as hard. Like, because if they go to the playoffs, if they do something, win a game or two, like they're going to bring back Taylor Jenkins, which I think he deserves to be on the hot seat right now. Like, I don't think I don't know. I just feel like he has
a free season now with the Ja injury. He has a free season, with the Ja injury.
They should bring it back next year because of the injuries and all that. They should bring it back.
That's a built-in excuse for why the season isn't going well. You saw how different the team was when Ja came back, 6-3. So right there, he has a built-in. We didn't have our superstar player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's time for a new voice in the locker room. I don't know. Maybe they go, like you said, they probably need to get big man. The Steven Adams thing, like I've given up on that. Like there's just let him go. Like let him go. I think they should go after the Purdue guy, Zach Eden. They should go after him. Get a big man like him to be next to Triple J would be awesome. They need a big man. So they getting another guard to mold into the next job. I don't see that. They don't need to do it, but they could. Like you said, they could do that. But they need a big man and build around Ja help build around Ja. If he's a superstar, if he's gonna stay there and be the face of Memphis, you need to help. He needs some help around him. So it'd be interesting to see now that Ja's out, Triple J is out the other night. They beat Dallas, which I didn't see that. Messed up my parlay again on that, but I mean, I did not see that. I didn't see that coming at all. But it'd be interesting to see the fight of this team. They got MLK game next Monday. Draymond Green might come back that game, which is crazy at itself. Like Adam Silver talked him out of retiring. Like talked him out of it. That's crazy, right? You agree with that? Talked him out of retirement? Like
I mean, I understand with everything, we don't know what's going on in Draymond's personal life. So I understand with the suspension, everything that's happened that we know of on the court over the past 2 or 3 years for Draymond. I can understand him having that thought and contemplating the thought of walking away from the game. But it's also hard to walk away from over $90 million too. So.
Fair enough. I just hope Draymond's on the right path to success and not do another episode of smacking somebody for no reason. I just don't like that. But he's still one of the most intelligent players in the NBA. Sometimes he just has that reflection. I hope he doesn't do that though. Marcus, thank you so much for joining me here, talking about your 49ers and hoping, wishing them success. Probably gonna play out next week. I hope not, but I'm ready for the playoffs. I know you are too, so it should be a fun adventure these next couple of weeks. So
yeah, I'm excited that I get to watch meaningful football for my team at least for the next 2 weeks. Get to watch with interest of what's going to happen at least.
Right. So, ladies and gentlemen, Marcus Hunter, ladies and gentlemen. So, that will conclude this interview. Thank you. So once again, I want to thank Marcus Hunter for his interview. Now tune in for part 2.
Throw it down, big man.